Hey everybody, I figured I would start making a video about this YZ125. There's a lot of these older YZs out there, and I've kind of stumbled across this bike. Got a really good price on it. I paid $1,200 for it. It's a 2001 YZ125, and it's seen better days. Just to kind of give you an overview of what I got. I wasn't sure exactly. I thought I was buying a 250. Bought it at night. I didn't. I just took the guy's word for it. I don't think he really knew for sure. But anyways, I ended up with a 125, which is okay. I intended on flipping the bike. But anyways, there's a lot of these bikes out there, and just being able to know how to repair them, bring them back to life, you can save yourself a ton of money. If you got more time than money, this is probably going to be the video series for you. So, excuse me, I'm not the greatest speaker, but I'll do my best to try to get you through this. This bike has just about every wear component gone on it. The water pump leaks. There's a hole underneath of the water pump, just like in a car. When the water pump seals and bearings go, it starts dripping out that hole. That kind of gives you a warning that the water pump system's compromised. So when I got this bike, there was little drips coming out of it. I didn't really know what it was at first. The drips were not green, they were clear. So that in itself tells you a little bit about the history. That they quit putting antifreeze in it, probably because it got expensive, and they started putting water in it, which, as you may or may not know, is not a good coolant. It doesn't transfer the heat. Water doesn't transfer heat as well as antifreeze does. So I was also told that the head, the upper end, had been rebuilt. On my to-do list is do a compression check on the head. I hope that's true, and if it is, then that saves me $700-800. Let's see what else. So many things to start with. There's little oil leaks, I think, everywhere. Some are at the higher end in the crankcase, some are at a lower end. I'm trying to cover everything on this side. Some of the hoses weren't completely tightened or attached, the water hoses, so I attached those. I think the seals on the forks, the front forks, I think they're gone. The little protective booties have been rotted off. I've cleaned this since then. My apologies, I should have did this video before I cleaned the bike. The rims look like they were black. I cleaned the rims last night. The brakes seem to be really good. They seem to have a good amount of wear left in them. So that's a good thing. There's one less thing I have to worry about. The chain's in pretty good shape. Pretty good, I mean mediocre. I noticed when I started it up, it didn't have the high end RPMs as good as they should have been, so I didn't know if it was the clogged muffler or the reed valves. So I took it apart last night, and lo and behold, sorry about this, the reed valves that I took out were bad. Try to see if you can see this. Yeah. You can see how they're bowed up there a little bit. These reed valves are supposed to be tight, and they're not tight. So if you look outside, You can see the daylight through them. There's all kind of options for reed valves. You can buy a racing performance set. You can just replace the actual credit card like reed valve itself. It's a lot cheaper. It's only 30 bucks. So first order of business is to get the reed valves, put them in, and see if the RPMs, the high-end RPMs, comes back. If it does, sweet. Then I know I'll move on to other things. The carburetor leaked like crazy around this bowl. I put some Permatex in here. I'm sorry, not well, yeah, it was gasket maker, Permatex brand. That stopped the leak out of the bowl. It may have interfered with the floats a little bit, I'm not sure. But I bought a rebuild kit, it's on its way, so you'll get to see that video coming up. Also around the shifter, there's a leak way under there. You can see how oily it is. Apparently you can just replace the seal around the shift shaft. I'm going to do that because that's a very low end area in the crankcase and oil will come out it. And that's what was happening. I was getting drips on the floor from that dripping. So that's on my to-do list. But once again, you know, this is a 2001 YZ. There's a lot of these bikes out there. They haven't been totally damaged, but they've been rid rough and they haven't been upkept very well. So, you know, if you're into fixing things yourself, you could get a bike like this very cheap, 1,000 bucks. Know what to look for so that when you're negotiating, you can point these things out to the current owner and say, hey, listen, I got to change this. I got to change this seal down here. That's bad. You know, why don't you have antifreeze in your coolant system? You know, the high end, you take it for a test ride and maybe the high end isn't there. It could be it could be an easy fix. It's either on the output or the input. Either the carbs messed up or the exhaust or even the power valve. That's a whole other subject. We'll get into that later. Another thing that's wrong with this is this monoshock. So if I go back over to this side, you'll see there's a little gas cylinder. It says something about nitrogen in it. Well, I pressed on this little air valve, nothing came out. The monoshock is very spongy, weak. Good enough for riding around, really, you know, but if you're going off some jumps and whatnot, you're probably going to bottom out. So that's a whole other video. You can rebuild that whole monoshock. That's what's cool about that system. Let's see, what else did I order? I did order the kit for the water pump. Apparently you got to take this whole side, this whole case off the side, take the brake lever off, take the kickstarter, take the water pump out, disconnect your clutch, all this stuff in your power valve bracket. You got to disconnect that, and this whole thing comes off, and then you go in there and change seals and bearings and whatnot. That'll be a future video, and that'll keep, because my main concern was, I think the bike originally blew up, the top end blew up because it probably either ran out of oil or it ran out of coolant. Got overheated, melted the rings, whatnot, cracked the rings. So, yeah. So anyways, this is kind of an introductory video to just show you what I'm starting with for the most part. And I hope to have many more videos coming on this kind of series of, you know, if you can get an older bike, what will it take to rebuild it? And what I've noticed right now is if the head has good compression, the top end, then the rest of it doesn't seem like it's going to be as expensive. There's a lot of fixes you can do. Just give you an example. JB Weld. Okay, I just felt some people cringe, but hey, this is JB Weld. It's on a high spot on the I guess crankcase, what you call it, and there's not a whole lot of pressure up there, and it's keeping a seal. So, you know, not everything has to be perfect. It's an old bike. You want to do some trail riding on it, maybe. You just want it to run good, and once you know what you have, you know, that's the most important thing about a used bike. Knowing what you have, knowing what you have in it. You know, when's the last time the head was rebuilt, reed valves changed, muffler cleaned, you know, how's your coolant situation? There's a lot of things, clutches, brakes, bearings in your wheels, you know, all that stuff. Um, so, you know, knowing what you have with a used bike is really important in the last time that you've, you know, rebuilt certain things. All right, folks, so that's it. I'm going to end this video here shortly, and hopefully you like it, and I'll have many more videos to come. Have a nice day.